Hello everybody, welcome to Off-Road Ramblings. I'm here with Eliza Coleman, pretty cool guest. We're going to talk to her about her background, her life, some of the things she's been connected with. So if any of you don't know Eliza Coleman, you will after this obviously. She's got a pretty good resume. So Eliza, welcome to Off-Road Ramblings.
Thanks for having me here.
No, thanks for coming. Give us a little bit of a sort of a potted history of, and you've got a lot to talk about, so we'll take it bit by bit, otherwise it might be a little bit overwhelming, but give us an idea of, you know, some of the things that you've done, you know, in the automotive realm.
Well, going way back, I grew up in a family of motorheads, two older brothers, and if I could figure out how to get the keys and make something go, I drove vehicles. I was raised in a very rural area of upstate New York, and there weren't too many rules, and so I did a lot of driving when I was well before I had a driver's license. I have, over the course of my career as a stunt woman and stunt coordinator, I've had the opportunity to drive many, many different vehicles. And although I was an all-around stunt woman, I had the opportunity to do a lot of vehicular stunts and developed a reputation as a wheel woman. Yeah. And so, it's, you know, I'm very fortunate in that realm. After my children were grown and I had a little bit more expendable income, I bought myself a rally car, and I'm now full-on racing in the American Rally Association, and starting to do some of the national level national level events.
All right, so I like the way you just glossed over stunt woman there pretty easily, but that encompasses quite a lot, right? But from your early age, you got that affinity with vehicles, and we were talking earlier off camera. Eliza had a VW Beetle in the snow, which sometimes can be good, right? Because the weight's over the back wheels. But when the back end starts to slide, it's you need to understand. Well, in that case, oversteer, right? Sure. So, but that really teaches you how to drive, as opposed to learning to drive now in a front-wheel drive, whatever, where you don't learn anything and there's a bunch of electronics.
Well, sure, and also, you know, it was a manual transmission, so you know, you get good with that.
That as well.
And yeah, I drove that Beetle cross country when I moved from New York State to Utah. I brought that Beetle here with me. Oh
my God, you need a medal for driving a VW Beetle from New York to Utah.
It cured me from that cross-country trip notion.
Wow. Yeah, that's a hell of a thing.
I don't think I've driven cross-country since then.
Not in a Beetle, at least, no. But I think from that, I guess you've developed a relationship with vehicles, and that's put you in good stead for... you're doing the movie stuff. So if somebody said to you, oh, let's use X, Y, Z car, and you could say, well, it understeers here, it oversteers there. It's not going to be very good doing this. It's going to be nose heavy for doing jumps or whatever. Yeah.
Well, you never want to limit the creativity. You know, quite honestly, my view is that anything is possible. And sometimes you are asked to do the impossible on short notice with very little preparation, but ideally you get the preparation and you get the vehicle prepared to do what it is you're going to ask it to do. And you also get, you know, with experience, you know, people say, you know, oh, this is a really crappy car. Well, you know how you get good at driving crappy cars? You drive crappy cars.
Oh yeah.
And so I don't generally have the choice when I show up to work what I'm going to be driving. And if it's a significant stunt, there's generally rehearsal and a lot of preparation that goes into it. But you get really good at jumping in any vehicle.
Yeah, I'd agree with you about going fast in crappy cars. Yeah, mine was diesel transits with no turbocharger, so that taught me to drive fast because they were so heavy and slow. But yeah, it teaches you to, to how to get the best out of something that's not really designed to do, a van. It's not designed to go fast.
Yeah, you can't you can't be a prima donna about it. In my profession, you get asked to do something, you don't make excuses.
Right.
You do it.
Yeah, make it happen, right? I think not everybody, and I think has that affinity for vehicles, right? Because it's just a tool for modern life. You just get in, you hit the button, or if you've even got a key, and off you go. It's not really what people think about. Yeah, but obviously with you've gravitated towards, from your driving Beetles and excavators and tractors and all the rest of it when you were a kid, you've kept that going. So you've used that to utilize or leverage into the stunt world, where you need to be familiar with lots of vehicle platforms to do your job.
Absolutely.
But you've gone one step further and gone, well, I'm not going to, I don't know, do some other boring hobby. You go get a rally car. So tell us about that, because that's freaking awesome. Yeah, in 2017 I had been working with Hoonigan. If anyone is familiar with the Ken Block series, Gymkhana, I stunt coordinated for Hoonigan for 10 years, starting with Gymkhana 6. I did 6, 7, 8, 9. And they were pretty epic to be, on camera they were epic.
They were epic.
They were visually epic. Nuts, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and we did a lot of things in those projects that's very very different from the way we run the set in film and television generally. On the Gymkhanas, we did not cheat any angles to make things look close. What you saw really was that close.
Yeah, so you're really on the seat of your pants, right?
Yeah. And I had gone to pretty much every driving school that I could find as a stunt woman for training. So I did O'Neill Rally School, Dirtfish Rally School, Rally Ready in Austin. And then I did NASCARs at Fontana Raceway. I did open wheel Allenberg, as well as the Skip Barber at Laguna Seca.
Okay.
And I discovered in taking all of those that what I really love is driving in the dirt. I love driving in the dirt. And that really created my love of rally. So it was coincidental that I was at a stage in my stunt career, and I was also working with Ken Block, who was the a fantastic rally car driver. And that was my entry. I bought a Scion that had been a SEMA project, and it was sitting at the donut garage. And my friends at Hoonigan said, "Well, we'll sell you this car." And I learned a lot about putting together a rally car, and started out with 105 horsepower. And you learn to drive a slow car fast. And then now I've segued into, I sold the Scion, and I've segued into a all-wheel drive Subaru,
Tell us about the engine, because the engine's pretty cool, I think, anyway.
Yes. So again, I started with that car, and the stock motor was slow, and I got really frustrated. So we did what's become a very popular engine swap now in the Impreza, and I have the H6, the flat 6 motor in it. So,
and we were watching a video of this on camera, and it ever so slightly sounds like a Porsche 911, which is pretty cool.
It does.
It makes that kind of flat 6-y warble, right? So it's pretty cool.
I also have a Porsche GT3. Add that to the places that I've been. I went to Barber Motorsports in Birmingham, Alabama, and drove Porsches on the track there, which was really fun, but it didn't replace my love of the dirt. I love the dirt.
I think driving in the dirt, off-road racing or rallying is you get to feel more of the dynamics of the car. You're very much more tuned into what it's doing because it's obviously moving around in many more orientations than say if you're doing a circuit race in it or whatever.
Yeah. I don't know. I honestly I think it's just what turns
floats
me
your
on.
boat.
It floats my boat.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So do you think, and I know how when I wrote this down as a question, it kind of sounded a bit silly, but do you think rallying's getting a bit more traction in the USA?
I would like to think so. We have some great drivers at the top. Brandon Semenuk, Travis Pastrana, Connor Martell. Vermont Sports Car has been very instrumental in raising awareness here. Certainly Ken Block was huge.
Yeah, he kind of put it on the map, didn't he?
In terms of in terms of worldwide awareness, absolutely.
So I remember watching. I can't remember which rally it was. I remember watching in Wales somewhere when I lived in the UK and watching Ken Block. I'm like, he's from America, and you're like, what? Why is there an American driving a rally? Because normally it's France, Germany, Spain, and especially the Icelandic, Denmark, and Norway, and whatever. Names you can't pronounce, right?
The Finns,
the
Swedes.
Finns and the Swedes,
Norwegians.
And you think this American guy, that's not something. Where does he even do that? But again, it is getting traction. And then the other angle, as I guess, from a female point of view, getting ladies in rallying, that's even less so, right? So that's you're in a man's world, right?
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure. There are a lot of female co-drivers, and there are some notable, Michelle Mouton being one.
We were going to mention her.
Rally
you beat me
drivers.
To it.
I beat you to that, but right now in the start order for Olympus Rally, which I'm headed to this afternoon, I believe there are 3 women drivers.
Oh, cool.
In a field of almost 70 cars.
Yeah, there's not very many though, right? But,
I'm always, I love encouraging other women to do things, and I think that this is an opportunity for women and even men to see anything is possible. Anything.
And just to bring back, if you haven't heard of Michelle Mouton, she was a rally driver throughout the 80s in Group B. If you want to be entertained, look up Group B rally driving, and she retired at the end of that, and most of her work was within an Audi, right? The Audi Quattro. And that's when Audi was going from, really introduced four-wheel drive into rallying, which completely changed the whole...
It changed the landscape
of the sport, because before it was rear-wheel drive only, and then four-wheel drive is just for tractors, and it completely... And then everybody else caught up, right, forward, and with the RS200 and the MG and all of that, the 6R4, all of those cars, and the Lancia as well. And I think then she moved to Peugeot just before she retired.
I believe she did.
Yeah, and the funny stretched Peugeot 205. I'm being all geeky now. But yeah, and then she decided to retire when they banned it, which is a shame because she could have done a lot more.
Yeah, she broke
with
a lot of barriers.
Yeah, in lots of ways, right?
In lots of ways, yeah. Absolutely. But, the reality is when I'm competing there's no difference. It doesn't. No. Doesn't care what your gender is.
No, you don't have a flag saying "lady, move out the way," and then people go, "Okay, then you've still got to drive, right?"
Yeah, I still have to drive.
Yeah. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the other thing that you're getting into, which we haven't mentioned, is you've been and you're going to be in the upcoming. It's in October, right? The Rebelle Rally.
The Rebelle Rally.
Yes, tell us about that.
Yeah.
What's happening with that?
This will be my 5th Rebelle. The Rebelle Rally is an off-road navigation, analog navigation.
And it's not timed. A lot of people are surprised when you go, oh, it's not like you...
It's not a race. It is an analog navigation competition. It takes place over 8 days and 2,500 kilometers. And we have no electronics. It's teams of 2, a driver and a navigator. It's, in this case, is all women. And there are 2 classes. There's the 4x4 class and there is the crossover class. Again, all of the vehicles are all-wheel drive, but many of the vehicles are just what you would see parked in in the in everybody's driveway.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that we really take great pride in the Rebelle. Mm-hmm. And it is not a race. It is timed from the standpoint that we have generally a 10-hour span on each day from the moment we leave base camp to the moment we return to our base.
Right.
We generally have 10 hours. Mm-hmm. And so you're trying to accumulate points by finding waypoints within that 10-hour time.
Right.
So it is timed from that standpoint.
Yeah, but not from a hell for leather, let's go for it.
Not for speed. Mm-hmm. It's not for speed.
Yeah.
And we are given very stringent speed limits.
Yeah.
There is one part of the Rebelle, in addition to the hunting for waypoints, which is hunting, because we don't know from day to day where we're going. In the morning at 5 a.m., we get a sheet of paper with a list of waypoints on it, and then we start mapping them, and then we pick a route, and then we go out and we try to achieve those points. Mm-hmm. Some of the waypoints are marked with a big green flag, some are with a smaller blue flag or a blue pole, and then other waypoints have no marking at all. So you get to a spot where you've plotted the waypoint on your map, and you start studying the topography, and you decide this is where we're supposed to be. And we have a tracker, an electronic tracker, and when you click that tracker, you hope that you're where you needed to be, and you get that information of your lat long, and you find out if you indeed did get full points.
The ones without the actual markers.
Those are called black waypoints, yes. Mm-hmm.
And I guess from that you're driving on anything, right? You could be driving, the temperature varies massively, so the elevation varies massively, so different types of terrain, grass, dirt, mud, sand, whatever,
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
The Rebelle has taken me to places in the West that I never would have dreamed existed. Geological formations. The scenery is spectacular. And that's probably one of my favorite things about it. And then also the aspect that you don't have any electronics for 8 days. So no phone, no news, no GPS, no nothing.
Yeah, sounds awesome.
Really off the grid.
Sounds awesome. Not having to rely on that.
And we start we've started in different places, and we aren't always told exactly where we're going to start. But I believe so. In the past, we used to start in Tahoe and end in Glamis. Now, the last couple of years, we've started in Mammoth and ended in Glamis or Johnson Valley. Yeah. So sometimes you're on dirt roads. Sometimes you're in OHV areas where there are no roads. We run through so much different landscape.
And isn't it cool that all the different vehicles that people use, and you say they're largely standard, right? They might have different tires on or whatever, but they're pretty much standard trucks. It's not like they've got different engines and all that sort of stuff, or roll cages or anything like that. But it just shows you how capable some of those, and it doesn't matter what brand, but how capable some of those vehicles are used in their proper environment, rather than tooling off to Target or to the supermarket or wherever, looking all cool.
They're not mall crawling.
Yeah, which is what most of them do, right? Which is a shame. But, and even things like Subarus and RAV4s are actually very, very capable, aren't they?
Yeah. There's a category called bone stock where you bring your vehicle with no modifications. Yeah. And everybody,
there should be a series, because I know there's the, I don't know which one it is on YouTube, that's Will It Rally, and they try and rally things that aren't supposed.
Really?
Yeah, and they put Tacomas and they put Tacomas.
Sounds like a lot of
it's
fun.
really fun. Yeah, I think it's called Will It Rally. Someone will say in the comments, but anyway, and they just rally things that aren't supposed to rally, and they go, oh yeah, this does quite well or not well or whatever. And there's all sorts of obscure. The last one I watched was a Tacoma, and they were, trying to float this thing round a forest. But it should be Will It Rebelle. That'll be another series, maybe. Yeah. So what vehicles have you used in the Rebelle then? So, because you've done how many so far now?
Coming up is my fifth.
The one you're going to do this year?
October 2025 is Rebelle number 5 for me, and it's the 10th anniversary of the Rebelle. My previous 4 Rebelles were all in a Jeep Wrangler Rubicon.
Yeah.
Very capable vehicle.
Yeah.
Super fun.
Yeah.
And this year, I'm going to be driving the Ineos Grenadier.
Cool. Yeah.
A trial master.
Yeah.
And I have a rookie navigator.
Right.
So that's really fun for me too. When I started doing the Rebelle, my navigator was an OG or 100%
Yes.
Rebelle, meaning that she started at the beginning with the very first Rebelle.
And that was Kendra, right?
Her name's Kendra Miller.
Yeah.
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 And so I really learned a lot from her. And now I get to sort of share what I know with this year's navigator, Amy Milliard, and we're actually driving her personal Grenadier.
Oh, it's her car.
Yes, it is her car.
Is that a good thing for a relationship? Can we go up here?
Well, we've already trained together, and
Yeah.
I think that I did a pretty good job of instilling confidence in her that I wasn't
Okay.
going to wreck her car.
Does she know you're a does she know you're a stunt lady?
I gave her full disclosure. I
don't know whether
didn't
that'd
hide
be a good thing or a
anything.
bad thing if she's a stunt lady. Like, could go either way, right? But,
Well, I mean, look, whether it's the co-driver in my rally car or the navigator in my Rebelle vehicle, or a passenger when I'm doing a vehicular stunt, I take their safety very seriously.
yeah, and you've got to, I think when you're driving
yeah.
quick with other people, or like with a cameraman or whatever, you've got to
Absolutely.
have the empathy for all of those people
100%.
with what you're doing, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, you can't just disengage your brain and go, for sure.
Yeah.
So the Grenadier then, I know you've done a lot of practice with that. How did you find that then? Because a lot of people don't know much about it. I mean, there's people out there with them, but it's quite a unique vehicle, you know, in terms of how it drives, and it is made to do what you're doing with it, I suppose. Thoughts on it? How did it?
Very
you know,
capable.
compared to the Jeep. Because you think about the Jeep and the Grenadier, from a technical standpoint, they're effectively very similar. It's body on frame,
That's correct.
live axles, engine in the front,
correct.
transmission where it's supposed to be, you know, and
That's
you know in the
correct.
middle. So from that point of view, the layout, the weight distribution, but you know, how does it compare?
I was very impressed. I did not notice any lack of ability with the Grenadier as compared to my Jeep. We took it to Glamis so that we could.
And that's the dunes, right? The Glamis dunes. If you don't know what there's
The Glamis sand dunes, that's right. The
Yeah.
Imperial sand dunes in
Yeah.
California, the largest set of sand dunes, I believe, in North America. And so we took it down there. It was a great chance for Amy and I to train together. And I was a little bit concerned because of the weight of the vehicle, that I would get stuck a lot in the sand. I did not get stuck. I had plenty of power getting up the dunes, and I found it to be very nimble when I needed to spin the car around.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a 5,800-pound car. And I
No.
think I said this on the previous interviews I've done as well. People are always with the horsepower on paper. You go, what? You know, 282 horsepower for a 6,000-pound vehicle doesn't sound overly spectacular, but it's actually, they're not thinking about the bigger picture. It's the torque, of course, and the thing's been
That's right.
retuned for that. So it's the torque that makes a difference, especially in sand, you know, the deep, dry, you know, that afternoon sand.
That's right.
Yeah.
I climbed some things that I watched lots of other vehicles get stuck in.
Yeah, and I think it surprises
And
a lot of people.
It was great. I'm totally looking forward to doing the Rebelle in it. Super comfortable. The Recaro seats.
Yeah.
And you know, on the Rebelle, you're literally spending 80 hours
Yeah.
in the seat of
I mean,
the
to
car.
be fair to the Grenadier, it is built as, which maybe not so much in the US, it's marketed as a lifestyle vehicle. But there are variants of that in Europe that are built as work trucks. You know, there's one with no rear seats in for tax reasons, and it's effectively classed as a van.
Oh.
You know, so it has to be over-engineered, which it is. It's a very over-engineered vehicle with the size of the components and the rest of it. So that's probably why in your environment, you know, for what you're using it for on the Rebelle, it's why it does very, very well. Yeah, so that's good to know.
Yeah, we have the Evictus suspension on Amy's car. I don't think we've completely settled on a name, but I was calling her Miss Daisy.
Okay.
But maybe she gets a different name.
But Miss Daisy, from the movie, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that was generally driving very slow,
I
wasn't
know.
it? And she was in the back, and what's his face was driving in the front. Morgan Freeman, right?
Morgan, yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't need a name that suggests it's a little bit more sprightly than an old lady sitting in the back of a big car.
That's kind of the joke.
Oh, we see. Oh, it's an ironic name.
It's an ironic name.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Daisy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because, our particular grenadier is very stealth looking. So I don't think it's. I think, you know, it would have gotten some like Darth Vader kind of a name if we hadn't been ironic about Miss Daisy.
That's funny. That's funny. All right. Okay. All right. Well, it's been lovely to talk to you. Thanks very much for talking to us. I think we could go on and on about. You've got a lot of different angles, being a rally driver and a stunt lady and Rebelle rally competitor. So lots of cool stuff. But yeah, thanks for taking the time out to come and talk to us.
My pleasure.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. And we'll see you soon.
Thanks. Bye.